He said you make fart sounds with your hands. That's what you do.
I do. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, that's going in the B-roll. Wake up, everybody. Today is Thursday, November 19th, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch Pulaski, joined by my co-host, Jason Wright. If you decide you like us and want us to fill you with the power of darkness, you can find us at neverfreetoplay.com, patreon.com/neverfreetoplay, or on all the other social media where we are Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Jason, how's your heart doing?
Was that intro a Kingdom Hearts reference?
It was, but I botched it. But the words are right. The inflection, the tone were wrong. So if you didn't know, everybody, if it wasn't obvious, this is a Kingdom Hearts episode.
Oh, gosh. What did we do to deserve this?
Nothing. I just went down a retrospective rabbit hole, and then I played a Kingdom Hearts game, which we'll talk about later in the episode. And so it's on the brain. It's on the brain. Gotcha.
I'm nervous about this. I don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts. I don't want to know anything about Kingdom Hearts, so I'm a little bit...
that's okay. Sora didn't know anything about Keyblades and Hearts either, but he rose to meet that challenge just like you will, Jason.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
On a slightly different note, Happy International Men's Day.
I don't want to talk about this.
It's not often that we get to celebrate how great it is to be a man.
This is new, right? Like, I feel like I would have been annoyed by these jokes last year, too.
Yeah, I've never heard of this before, ever. I saw like one post on Facebook or Reddit, I can't remember, and I was immediately just like, what? This is dumb. I don't understand the point of this.
Like, Conspiracy Karch is like, okay, this is actually a plant. Like, this holiday was planted, like, because first of all, what is an international holiday? No, those things don't exist. So, like, right off the bat, it's a non-holiday, but it was planted by forces who would, like, pin it. It's like a double fake.
Explain that theory.
Like, right-wingers did this so that people would be mad at them, so they could be mad at those people who are just, and then, like, all the while trying to push the narrative that men should be, like, celebrating. Like, you see what I'm saying? You starting to feel me?
I do.
Yeah. That's what this feels like. This feels like it's propaganda, Russia-level troll, deep double fake kind of nonsense. QAnon.
This is a Q holiday. I've literally, like I said, I've never heard of this holiday before.
Like I said, I swear people would have been just as sarcastic last year. I would have been just as irritated that people were even giving this even a second of their thought.
I mean, I get mad enough when people are like, it's National Eat a Donut Day, tee-hee-hee. And I'm just like...
I like some of those.
Why?
Well, some of them, because I like some things and I hate most things. Everyone's going to latch on.
What's your favorite one? What's your favorite one of those?
Tacos.
That's just Cinco de Mayo. That's not the same thing.
Well, that's the other thing. I like when you say something like the International Donut Day, like, I swear that there's like 5 of them a year, which, like, hey, I'll eat donuts any day of the year, but, like, well, there can't be 5 of them.
There's probably a difference between International Donut Day and National Donut Day. You see what I'm saying?
And then there's probably something stupid like National Dunkin' Donut Day, or
right. And then, if I'm not mistaken, some of those actually run off a celestial calendar, so they're not the same day every year. It's like a Jewish holiday thing. Yeah,
that's yeah. All right,
a lunar calendar. That's what I was trying to think of.
Celestial works.
Okay, enough of that. I'm done talking about it. Let's get into some housekeeping.
Cleaning house.
Sub, follow, never do that again. It's been a while since we've had a sub, and I'm pretty sure it's because we stopped posting the episodes other places other than just YouTube to die out to pasture. But if you've stumbled across this and you've liked the banter, go ahead and give us a sub, and we will shout you out on the next episode. Just like we're going to shout out our dear friend and former co-host, rest in peace, Sean. We're hoping if you do happen to be alive, we're hoping you're feeling okay. And that this podcast can bring you some happiness as you are lounging on the couch and blowing through every game you should have beaten in the last 5 years.
Unbelievable.
Which is insane. He's going breakneck pace through games. It's crazy.
Celeste, already done.
Crazy.
Checked it off.
He beat that in 2 days? He beat Celeste?
6 hours, he said.
Insane.
Yeah.
Corrections. No need for corrections, music, Karch. I deleted it. Last week I made a pretty bad mistake, and I need to apologize for it. I said that there was a singular camera shot in which the characters walk through the restaurant, and it was all done in one take, and I said the movie was Godfather. Obviously, it's Goodfellas. When I listened to me saying that, as I was listening to the episode, I cringed. I was like, oh no, this is awful. All of our fans are going to be so upset that I made that mistake. No worries. I caught myself. And that's it, man. Take us into the news.
All right, let's get into some news right off the bat. The Game Awards are coming up in December something. They finally announced the nominees. And we won't get into too many details. I will talk about the Game of the Year nominees, though, because that's the big one that everybody wants to see. I know you don't really care about this kind of stuff, Jason. You probably won't watch it either, but I do, and I will, and it's fun to talk about. So, Game of the Year nominees. Doom Eternal by id Software, published by Bethesda. Final Fantasy VII Remake by Square Enix. Ghosts of Tsushima by Sucker Punch and Sony Interactive Entertainment. Hades by Supergiant Games. Animal Crossing New Horizons by Nintendo. And finally, The Last of Us Part 2 by Naughty Dog and, again, Sony Interactive Entertainment. So what do you think of that list?
That's an interesting... I would say if you ask me what were the memorable games that came out this year, this is probably the list I would have come up with. So right. I guess there's nothing on here that really surprises me other than maybe Hades a little bit. I do know that a lot of people loved this game, and it was kind of one of those indie darlings. Supergiants, they make good stuff. And I think people had anticipated this game. Did this game just come out this year? Because I thought it was already out on PC in early access.
Well, funnily enough, people were talking about how it came full circle because it was announced in it was announced that it was going to early access at the Game Awards in 2018. That was especially when Epic was starting to do because it was one of the very first exclusive things on the Epic Game Store, if I'm not mistaken. It was exclusive there, the early access specifically. But yeah, no, it had been around, and yes, it officially released back when we got it on the Switch. That was its 1.0 release date. Back in September.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess that's the only thing that I'm not even shocked by it. That's just the only thing that even remotely surprised me on this list. You said you had played all these except for Doom Eternal. That's also kind of cool.
Yeah, I know. Last year I don't know if I played any of them, honestly. I can't remember what the list was. I remember Sekiro 1, but I definitely didn't play that for more than 5 minutes. I actually think Doom is kind of the odd one out here because
I agree.
Hades could have dropped off this list if it had come out earlier in the year. It wouldn't have surprised me. I'm also a little surprised that it's here too. I love it. It's my game of the year so far and probably will be my game of the year by the end of said year. But yeah, I don't know. It's something about just wasn't a lot of buzz. And I'm not saying people didn't like it. I'm not saying it didn't score well, but it did literally launch on the same day or at least within the same week as Animal Crossing. And that just destroyed anybody else's chance of having good PR. But yeah, I found that was kind of weird. And then just one more point before we move on from this topic was what you get, unfortunately, is that people get a little lazy. The nominees or the nominators, whoever votes to actually nominate these things. And you start scrolling down, Doom Eternal is also in Best Music. And I'm like, really? Because I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I'm sure. I guarantee you can find so many more games that have better music. And Hades is also in there. Again, it's just people are like, oh, I'll just put this game in all the categories. I'm like, right. I like Hades music. I think it's unique and I think it fits that game real well, but I still probably wouldn't put it in the top, however 6 or many that they put there. Sad to see Ori's not on this list, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, and neither was I think what was it? Resident Evil 3 remake came out this year.
People didn't like that nearly as much as 2. So.
Right. Yeah. No, but it was just interesting because Capcom usually has at least one on this list, at least for the past couple of years. I guess they don't count DLC, so like Iceborne never had a chance of being on here. The Monster Hunter.
It depends. Like it is fluid, not as much as like ours could be, like because we're just two guys. But you know, they're not as strict as you might think as far as what can be nominated.
Well, I can't believe Fortnite's not on here then.
Fortnite goes under the category of like ongoing game.
Yeah, okay. That's cool that they added that. I didn't know they had a category for that. The one thing I was going to ask you is when is the cutoff for this? Because, for instance, Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out a couple weeks ago. I mean, but people haven't had a lot of time with it. Usually, Assassin's Creed games are at least in like the discussion, but not so much.
November 20th. Keeley gave him that date. If it wasn't out by then, it wasn't considered. And Cyberpunk knocked itself out by pushing its date back this most recent time.
You know, it's kind of funny because I remember November was going to be such a crowded, or like the fall of this year was going to be such a crowded spot, you know, for game releases. And so many games were trying to miss Cyberpunk. And Assassin's Creed was one of those games. And I remember when they announced the release date, everyone was like, oh, crap, that's going to be going up against Cyberpunk. And now it's Cyberpunk, like you said, has kind of taken themselves out of the discussion for Game of the Year contender. But, yeah, hold on. So, yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out November 10th. So, technically, it could have been in there. Watchdog Legions came out October 29th. It's just interesting to see, like, Ubisoft doesn't have anything in there.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the cutoff. It says specifically here, games eligible for the Game Awards this year must be available for public consumption on or before November 20th. That technically includes the Hyrule Warriors game, but it'll literally be that day. And aside from the people who, and to be fair, the people who nominating and voting on these are people who would have early access to these games. So if there's a chance, it could still happen. But no one's going to vote for that because they just won't have had the time, even if it is like the best game they've played this year.
Sure. Which from what I'm seeing, it seems like Valhalla is a pretty average Assassin's Creed game.
Standard. Like it just sounds like, okay, yep, it's the same game we had 2 years ago, but now there's Vikings. And if that's your bag, that's your bag.
Yeah. I saw, not to get us off on a tangent, I did see some people say they didn't like the combat as much as Odyssey.
I can't imagine it's really that different. Like
me neither.
Like I feel like someone would have said something a little louder, and I would have noticed if it would. You can say you don't like it, and like they changed this and that, but like at the end of the day, like it's still the same thing they've had for at least the last two games specifically.
Right.
No Jedi Fallen Order. That was one of the games that did not make the cut last year, so technically it qualified for this year, but nobody cares.
I wonder if that's going to happen to Cyberpunk. I can't imagine. Like that'll be interesting to see. That's what
if a game could pull out, it would probably be Cyberpunk, but it's a long time, and it's just it's hard to want to like. It's a giant disconnect in your brain, you know. Like, but that was last
for sure.
year. I don't care anymore. Even if I love that game, I don't care anymore. Who do you think's going to win?
That happened to Super Smash Bros. Kind of.
Yes, it did the year before that, or 2 years before that. Who do you think's going to win? Or the top two? What's the toss-up? Because my toss-up's between Animal Crossing and Last of Us.
And that's your personal, or what you think's going to win?
No, that's the way I think the voting's going to go.
Okay. I don't typically follow this, but I'm going to say, hold on, I'm waiting for this page to reload because I want to see the games again, and it's not reloading. Okay.
Doom Eternal. Final Fantasy VII.
I got it now. Okay. I think it's got to be between The Last of Us Part 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Boom.
Good choices.
I mean, these are all good choices. Like, if it were up to me right now.
None of these these are all contenders, for sure. Right. I love all these games in some way. I love Doom Eternal by the fact that I played Doom. Never going to play Doom Eternal, but... All right, moving on. IO Interactive was teasing some big news earlier this week. A new game or announcement or something. And, well, today they announced it. and they are going to be making a James Bond origin game. Find out how you got the 00 in front of your 7 or something stupid like that. That's what I said.
Put the 00 in our 7.
Yeah.
That's not what it is either. Just
no.
Your joke, but worse.
How do you feel about this?
I have mixed feelings. Like, I think it's cool that IO got this IP to work with, but at the same time, I don't like, what are they going to do with it that they haven't already done with Hitman? I guess it can be a little more action focused and a little less stealth focused.
Maybe a lot more action focused. James Bond is not normally a stealthy guy. The movies aren't typically oriented around stealth.
Right. I don't know. I'm not like, you know, it's funny because when I was reading the threads on this of when they announced earlier this week that, hey, we do have something big to announce, they like teased the tease. People were guessing maybe 007. I don't know how they knew. And everyone was underwhelmed by that. And maybe that's tempering my, like, when I finally found out, oh yeah, that's all it is.
Right.
Maybe that's tempering that a little bit. And then the fact that we didn't get, like, I don't like the way they announced this, and I'm not usually one to nitpick marketing, or maybe I am, but they teased
totally are.
A tease. They said we have something big, and it's a 32-second or maybe 52-second. It's just music. You don't see character models. You don't see anything. There's nothing to be excited about, and maybe that's contributing to me being underwhelmed because I don't know anything about it, and like James Bond on its face doesn't really excite me. Like, I was never a big.
That's what it is. You don't care about James Bond. That is not a thing that excites you. So how could you get excited by that, which is all this announcement is? This announcement is there's a James Bond game coming from a competent studio who might do a really good job with it, which is something we haven't seen in a very long time, but that's all that we have to tell you today.
Right. So that's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think anybody hyped about this is probably lying to themselves. Like, I find it hard to believe in this day and age, in a game that's clearly not going to be like, it's not going to be modeled after Daniel Craig and his 4 or 5 movies that he's made.
How do you know?
With his iteration, like, anybody who's excited about this is just giving into like the hype cycle, or like for some reason they're conflating the fact that this might be the second coming of GoldenEye. I'm like, it's not going to be the second coming of GoldenEye. that's not what this is going to be.
Definitely no. Not if you've played any of the Hitman games. They're super narrative heavy, which they have beautiful cinematics and they do a great job with the storyline, honestly. And it's not going to be GoldenEye. You know what I did hear though, as a rumor though?
What?
Like you mentioned, this is not going to be Daniel Craig. I've heard that IO actually is leasing some physics engine technology from Rockstar. Mm-hmm. It's the horse ball physics from Red Dead. They're gonna borrow that for where you get whipped in the balls, like in that one James Bond movie. Yeah,
of course.
They're gonna borrow the testicle physics.
You know, my dad doesn't laugh a lot. And he's not a huge movie fan, but he's a huge James Bond fan, always has been. So this game's got him excited. He hates video games, but he's excited about this. Oh, yeah. Anyway, huge James Bond fan. We were watching Casino Royale one day, the movie you just referenced. And I remember when that scene came around, and I was like, how's he going to take this? He's already seen it, but like, I'm like, how does he react to this scene? And he was guffawing. He was laughing more than I'd ever, like, he loves it because he's cheeky. If you haven't seen the movie, James Bond gets strapped to a chair naked. The bad guy then takes like a weighted sock, essentially, like
the chair has no seat.
Right. He's gotten rid of the seat, and so of course he's completely exposed to any attacks from underneath. Guy's got this basically just heavy ball at the end of like a rope, nothing fancy. And he's just taking that, asks him a question, whips it right under the chair. And then, like, you know, Bond, of course, lets out a yelp in pain. But then he's really, like, he just keeps saying these things to piss off the other guy. And he's laughing while he does it. And, of course, now my dad's laughing while that's happening. It's a good memory. I like it.
I love it.
Thanks for bringing it back.
I love the memory. There's nothing better than a memory with, like, your dad and testicles. Exactly. Especially when they're Daniel Craig's testicles.
It's all just coming full circle. And moving on. Speaking of circles, We have the circle of life of console releases. Microsoft expects Xbox Series X and S stock shortages to continue into early 2021. But that's nothing new because if NVIDIA,
yeah,
whichever, and AMD have taught us anything, is that nobody can keep parts on the shelves for longer than 4 seconds.
Yeah, no, it's really annoying. I feel like everybody is just maybe taking the exact same components. And this is how I envision how these things are manufactured. They just glue them in different configurations.
Yeah.
And every electronic device on the planet, it's just the same exact material glued into different orders. You know, that's how it works. And since everybody needs the same one part that gets glued together, that's why we can't get anything.
Yep. And then in contrast, the PS5 is set to restock ahead of Black Friday at some retailers. That doesn't mean a lot, but it's more than nothing.
Right. I mean, they have been like trickling stock out there, and they are quote unquote releasing these lots of consoles at random times so that it's harder for people to like anticipate. It probably does nothing to deter the bots that are sweeping these things up and then putting them on eBay for quadruple the price. But if you sub to at PS5 Stock Alerts on Twitter, or at Wario64 or at IGN Deals, they offer updates about restock. So if you subscribe to their tweet notifications, maybe you can snag one. I have seen some go up. And you know, they saw it immediately, but if you can catch one, power to you. I also want to add it to the Microsoft Xbox Series X and S shortage. Their CFO Tim Stewart said that he expects the supply profile to begin to meet the demand profile in the second quarter of 2021.
It's a long ways away.
You're right. So basically by next summer, we'll start seeing these things reliably on the shelf. And until then, you could potentially expect shortages.
Now, you got to wonder, is like, Xbox doesn't care about hardware as much, and we're going to keep talking about that here in a sec, but with Game Pass and cloud services, like, is this a calculated move, or is this a blunder? You know, it's hard to say at this point.
I don't think it's a blunder. I mean,
I kind of do. Like, consoles always sell out at launch. That is for pretty much a fact. You might be able to get one like the next day or the two or whatever as pre-orders fall through, or we had more stock than we realized. But for the most part, consoles sell through in that launch week. But then they immediately have more. Like, it's like even the Wii had more pretty soon after. It was just people gobbled it up. And so, like, I find it hard to believe that the demand is quite that high for these. Maybe I've got it all wrong.
I think it's the coronavirus factor.
But they were so late in that now. Like, they've had all year to dilly-dally and drag their feet on the announcement. Surely that was to get this whole stuff, like the world seems to have moved on, for better or for worse. Like, it doesn't seem like that's stopping anybody from doing anything anymore.
I don't know. I really don't know. It's really hard to say.
I know.
Because I don't know how much, you know, these are pretty complex supply chains, and I don't know how much the whiplash effect could have impacted it. But it does seem like, to me, it seems like you could have gotten your stuff together by, say, Q1. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you don't have everything on the shelf for Christmas time rush, but early in the year, you'd think you'd see them on the shelf. And it does make me wonder if some companies went out there and secured their parts by overpaying for them, like companies like Apple and Sony, who are willing to do that because they have a different strategy, and Microsoft wasn't willing to do that. I mean, I don't know that. That's total speculation, but it wouldn't surprise me if companies who consider themselves more hardware companies go out and secure the hardware, whereas, like you just said, you know, Microsoft considers themselves obviously more of a software company focused on player base. That's their strategy. They don't really feel the need to sell these consoles as much as Sony does.
Who can say? Not I, not you, and not even Microsoft, because they will not be disclosing Xbox Series X and S sales figures again, continuing the trend that they started early on in the Xbox One's failed life cycle.
Like, he's failed life cycle.
It did.
Like, they didn't make millions on it, but yeah.
Nah.
So Phil Spencer did come out recently within the past week and say that they won't be disclosing their sales figures, which kind of seems like a smart move when you read into it a little bit more, because they are all about player base. They understand that consoles themselves are a niche market more so than, say, gaming in general. And they're looking to expand their player base, whatever that platform is.
It's not smart. It's not smart.
Okay, tell me about it.
It's not dumb.
Old school Karch, tell me about it.
Here's what it is. You're going to constantly have Sony reporting. Let's just assume it's going to do really well, because that's what it seems like it's going to do. Stellar numbers. It's not like their software sales are bad either. So on top of really good software sales from really strong first-party offerings, which Microsoft doesn't have and won't, even still into like Q1, Q2, it seems, because everything's getting pushed back, they're not going to be talking about their hardware sales. And obviously, they're going to report revenue. They have to report revenue, but it's going to be harder to decipher where all that's coming from. So unless Game Pass knocks it out of the park and just blows everyone's expectations out of the water, if I were a dumb, flippant, flighty investor, which they all seem to be, I would be like, but look at PlayStation. I'd be pointing at all their numbers. Look, they're saying how good they're doing. Why aren't you saying how good you're doing? You must be doing bad.
Yeah,
that's my take.
I mean, I hear you. I think it's a little more. I think we're maybe simplifying a little bit.
I'm a simple man. I'm a simple
Sony. Well, Sony and Microsoft are two very different companies. It feels like
that's what they want you to feel like, and obviously they are. Like you said, I'm oversimplifying it, but you can't just say I'm not playing by these rules anymore while you pretty much play the exact same game. Like, I'm kind of getting tired of Microsoft's like, yeah, this is how we're just a new. Well, it's almost like this kind of like hippy dippy approach. Like, come on, man, let's not do numbers anymore. You're harshing our buzz. It's like, I don't know. I honestly don't care. I really don't. But at the same time, I can't help but look at it and feel like, you're trying to have your cake and eat it too.
I get it, but it's a totally different marketing strategy. They're essentially encouraging. Yeah. Well, they're encouraging their user base. They're like, if the Xbox One X is doing it for you and you're happy with that experience, there's no need to upgrade. Keep doing it. You can play all the same games. Eventually, you'll even be able to stream the newer games to the older console. Like, what? But Sony doesn't have that option. So, in an environment where your competitor is pushing hardware sales and you're not, it would be dumb to report that you're doing worse when that's not what your goal is.
Sounds like a catch-22. Yeah. No, you're right. I see the merit in it. I'm not saying I don't. I'm trying to get to is the kind of like smug attitude behind it. Like, and I know you just can't show blood in the water, but I can still nitpick all I want. So I have that privilege.
Absolutely. That's why we have this podcast.
Exactly. I mean, I love Game Pass. I almost started playing Nier Automata yesterday on my phone, which we found out I can. So I can knock that off my backlog, maybe, if I can get over my weird can't stream games on my phone itis. It's a disease.
It is a weird disease.
IDC-10? ICD-10. Whatever. Next up, we have something stupid Jason put on here. Jason, take it away.
Quite the introduction. Okay, for everybody who has been following along with us with all these cloud gaming services streaming on X device, Y device, what devices are they allowed to be on? What devices aren't they allowed to be on? What games are offered on the services? What games were on the services and gets removed? Well, we have a little bit of an update on that for you. So NVIDIA's GeForce Now cloud gaming service relaunches on iOS as a web app. So you've seen this same approach taken by Amazon with Luna, and you've heard it announced that this is how Microsoft is going to do it. But in order to circumvent Apple's 30% cut on all sales, blah, 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 NVIDIA has created a web-based app that circumvents, well, the need for the App Store. It's just you use it in the browser, and you can game on their cloud service, and it sounds like it's actually working pretty well. It also supports Bluetooth controllers, which is pretty neat. Supports the Xbox One controller, the PlayStation 4 controller, and Fortnite just got approved to be used on GeForce Now, so Fortnite will be back on iOS. So Apple, take that.
I'm kidding. This is a really cool story, by the way.
It's interesting. So meanwhile, and this is something you texted me earlier in the week, maybe yesterday, Apple is basically trying to like fend off an antitrust regulation by announcing that they're now only taking, instead of the full 30%, they're taking a 15% cut from developers who make less than $1 million a year revenue, which obviously would not apply to any of these major players, but interesting nonetheless.
I mean, it wouldn't really apply to anybody who lasts for more than like a year. You know, like if you're not making $1 million, you're probably done. Like small mom and pop shops with brick and mortar make $1 million a year. You know, like that's not a lot of money for a business. And so this can't possibly be a strategy that they think has merit in fending off these antitrust regulations.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Epic Game Store has the same stipulation. I think they take if it's not zero, it's significantly less for any developer that makes under $1 million.
I know Steam did something like this, and it was a much higher number. Actually, it was a much more reasonable number for, again, non-AAA publishers. It was definitely pointed more towards indies, but again, it was more reasonable. And they have the 30% cut too. And I think it was something like, it was like a scaling number, and only for amounts made after that. This Apple doesn't have that necessarily. And also, I remember I saw reading, and this was actually today, that this was announced, or at least that's when I saw it. So I guess it could have been yesterday, but so let's say you breach $1 million for the rest of the year, you now owe 30% for every transaction. And then the next year you fall under $1 million again, you don't qualify for this little thing until the next year after that. So too bad if you spend the rest of your year only making $900,000 a year for the year. Yeah. It's a weird, and that's why this is the halfest of measures. This is a quarter measure at best. For I don't even know what they're trying to do. It just seems like the dumbest PR stunt, really.
It really does. But back to the actual gaming aspect of it, what do you think about all of these services? I know we kind of touched on it, right. But how do you feel about that part of it?
Just GeForce coming to iOS?
Sure, yeah, via the web app.
You'll finally be able to use your phone because you got stuck on the inferior operating system, and Xbox hasn't come there yet, but it'll be a matter of time. I mean, like, as far as like, I'm starting to get irritated and overwhelmed with how many there are, but at the same time, I've also already pretty much dug my heels into the Xbox camp as far as where am I going to stream my games? Well, I'm going to stream it with Xbox.
I think that's so far the best ecosystem. I've tried, I think, pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that the cool thing about GeForce Now is linking the Steam library. So you sign into Steam, and then anything that you've purchased on Steam that's eligible to be streamed on GeForce Now is then available. So that component of it's cool because you don't have to rebuy games, but at the same time, Xbox has just kind of like the Netflix library available to you. So,
do you know how GeForce makes their money with this?
They do have a subscription fee for this service. It's pretty low. I think it's like $6 a month for unlimited. I think you can do up to an hour or two long sessions for free or significantly reduced. There's also a free trial out there if you want to just go check it out. But that's how they make their money. It's a subscription service. It's essentially you're renting a virtual machine that is optimized for this type of thing. So
right. Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, go ahead and try it out. Tell us, let us know, Mr. Appleman, and we can compare and contrast our impressions anyway. And then eventually, I'm sure you'll be able to try out game streaming via Xbox. I'm still so confused about what they want to call that. I really wish they'd stuck with xCloud. I liked it.
I liked xCloud. It's
what I got used to. I thought
it
was clever. It worked, but whatever.
Yeah, no. If I do try out GeForce Now, it'll be on my laptop because I don't have my controller with a mount with me.
Yeah, and it's just not fun playing, like putting it on the table, a phone on the table and playing it like separate away. It's just not, it doesn't work. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
Yeah. All right, last little bit, wrap up the news. Deathloop got announced a launch date after their delay. They will be coming out 5/21/21, right in between our birthdays.
Hey. Yeah. And that's when we get my PS5.
Exactly. So. We said we made a pact. We're going to get them together. around that time for our birthdays. Jason and I's birthday is in May. They're both in May, and they're only like 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun for us.
But wasn't this a launch title? Like, it was
I don't
announced.
think so. I mean, I know they pushed it back to this Q2. I think they were hoping to get it out by like the end of this year. I think that was the window they had, and so I guess you could call that a launch title.
Well, launch window. It's
right.
Kind of what I mean. I mean, they announced when they did their big like announcement show, this was touted as a console exclusive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and it still will be. I don't know how, if or at all, this changes the nature of that contract with Sony. But yeah, definitely will be exclusive to PlayStation 5.
Which is so weird. I imagine that's going to be the case. I don't think anything's official, but Microsoft bought Bethesda, who owns Arcane.
They haven't done it yet. Last time I checked, that the ink isn't dry on that yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll see. I mean, they've been putting out all these statements about how, like, they don't necessarily want their games to be exclusive to Xbox, but they're going to have the quote-unquote best version of Bethesda games on the Xbox. But you have to wonder when I mean, obviously, they've already had this deal in place. We saw the same thing with Obsidian and, was it Outer Worlds?
Yes. We've mentioned it many times.
Right. So, anyway, we've seen this in the past. And so, obviously, any deal that was in place is going to remain, but it's just still kind of interesting.
Yeah, doesn't matter. We'll have it. Screw you guys. You Xbox losers.
I'm probably going to buy it on PC, to be honest with you.
Why are you even getting a PS5, man?
I don't know. That's why I don't have one yet.
Just pirate. Pirate
a PS5, like literally go out and
that's what I meant. I didn't mean pirate the software. Yeah, you'll go and steal yourself a unit off a truck. Well,
no,
we'll be right back after we get something go wrong.
That was our drink break?
That was our drink break.
Oh my gosh.
All right, now let's go ahead and get into what we wish we were playing, because we here at Never Free to Play are never free to play. So, Jason, what's caught your eye this week?
Okay, so I applied for the early access to Luna. That's Amazon's cloud streaming service. I applied like a couple weeks ago, and just yesterday I got the notification that I was accepted. So I was pretty stoked to try it out, because I had never tried a strictly cloud gaming service. Like, I had never tried out Stadia. I didn't have access to the xCloud beta because I don't have an Android phone. So I wanted to try this out. And they loaded it up last night, and to be honest, the monetization strategy is interesting. I think access to Luna itself is only something like $6 a month, and that comes with some level of a Netflix type of library. But then if you actually want any games you ever heard of, you have to add channels, and those additional channels, like Ubisoft Plus, cost additional dollars. But it is an interesting kind of like create your own cable package sort of idea, which is neat. But one of the free games that was on there was Control, or one of the included games was Control. So I checked out Control. Now, this is one that I've had my eye on for a while, and the intro to it really grabbed me. I was really interested about that. What do they call it? What's the bureau? The
Federal Bureau for Control.
Yeah, the FBC. Mm-hmm. You go into this FBC building and you're exploring it, and it's super creepy and empty. And anyway, it's really cool and neat. You're gonna have to cut this out. Those are really boring words, but whatever. It doesn't matter. That's the game I wish I was playing, because it did grab me. But my experience actually playing Amazon Luna was a little choppy. It was a little less than optimal. And because of that, I couldn't actually play through any of the action sequences. The cutscenes were more or less fine, because I guess maybe it gives your system a break to, like, those are pre-rendered or whatever. I'm not really sure. Versus having to deal with the latency of you inputting and it calculating where you're trying to move and whatnot. Because every time I would try to move, it was interesting. It did not degrade the video quality at all. Instead, it messed with the frame rate. In something like Dixper, where you stream from your own PC or something like Parsec, there are quality settings on there where you can say, well, just stream it at a lower resolution, at a lower frame rate, at a lower bit rate, and you have those sliders. And so it won't look as good, but at least it's fluid. And then eventually, especially in a game like Baldur's Gate, you get used to the latency. It's not that big of a deal if you're not playing a Twitch shooter. But something like Control, where they're not dipping the quality at all, but they're just messing with the frame rate, not great for what I was on. Now, granted, I have to say, take that with a grain of salt, because I'm at an Airbnb. I'm on a 20 meg connection. We're sharing it with the owners of the Airbnb. I'm sure they were probably streaming Netflix. Lauren was streaming Netflix, and I don't have great connection to the router. So this was like probably the equivalent of if you try to use this on hotel Wi-Fi, if I had to guess. But that's why, like I said, that's what I wish I was playing, because it's right there, and I have the 7-day free trial, and then I could play it if I could actually play it. So
it'd be nice to talk to somebody else about Control.
I think it's something I'll get back to, especially
I think you'll like it.
format.
I don't know if you'll love it, but I think you'll like it.
I think it's worth $6 for a month of Amazon Luna to find out once I get back home.
Definitely.
What about you?
I don't know. Nothing. I feel weird. My gaming organs are on the fritz right now.
Interesting.
Nothing's really working for me. I'm playing something. We'll talk about that in a sec, but I sit down, I pull up my Switch, and I'm like, I think about going to the computer to play Baldur's Gate, and I'm like, I really do kind of want to play. And what a strong endorsement, right? I really do kind of want to keep playing Wind Waker, but like many other games, I started playing it with Juliet, not like with her, but she was watching, and now I feel compelled or held back. I'm like, I can only play that with her because I don't want her to miss some of the main story beats and stuff.
Sure.
Does she really care? She's not gonna be like, Daddy, you played without me. It's me doing that to myself. Yeah. But then, like, if I got rid of that feeling, would I still play? And then I just can't bring myself to play games on my phone that aren't phone games. Because I've played hundreds of hours of games made for my phone. But I find it hard to stream stuff that would be better played literally anywhere else. Because you know me, I'm not a PC guy necessarily. I don't have to play the best version of something. But I like to play like the native version, if that makes any sense.
Sure, yeah.
And so I'm just having a hard time getting over that mental hurdle. And so, like, I don't know. I want to play something. I just don't know what it is. I'm waiting for it to come and smack me in the face. I was really excited for Hyrule Warriors, but that kind of died. I mean, I hope Sean still gets it, and I still want to play it, and I'll go in splitsies with him on it. But, like, I don't know. It's just like, I could wait another 2 months for that instead of like even 2 weeks ago. I was like, man, when's November 20th coming around? I don't know.
Ouch, man.
I wonder if it's all this next gen talk, which is now current gen. We're in the next gen.
I wonder too if it's like even though we say we don't care, but we really do, because I've found that for myself.
I care. Obviously, I care.
Not only do I care, but I find myself. I'm not gonna call it jealousy. Mm-hmm. But it's a little bit of FOMO, you know what I mean?
Just a teeny tiny bit. But I do.
Oh, well,
I do know what
that said, what game is out there that we couldn't play if we wanted to?
What game is out there that we couldn't play?
Right. Like, are there any exclusive next gen games?
Yeah, here's the problem that I've got myself into. I actually think I might want to play Demon Souls. I don't want to play Demon Souls. I've tricked myself into thinking I want to play Demon Souls. But it's there, and I can't have it, so I'm kind of like, maybe I want to play Demon Souls.
I totally get that. The reviews on that are they're positive, stellar. Very positive.
Yeah. Let's see. Bugsnax PS4. No one's talking about Jet the Far Shore. They're really sleeping on that.
It's like one of the only 2 PlayStation 5 exclusives. They really are.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll crack open. Part of this is work. Work's just kind of like weighing on me. And so like by the end of the day, I'm just like, I have a new book. I totally forgot to mention. I'm so sorry, Rhythm of War. I need to now gush about my new book. I got a new book, guys. It's
This is
called
not a
Rhythm of War by
book
Braden.
podcast.
Bookcast. Here we go. Shut up. It's purple. Love it. So yeah, I got the book and it's huge. And it's got a sleeve on it, hardback. And I took it off because I always take them off. And then I was like, oh, it's purple. Like one of my favorite shades of purple too. I'm a big purple fan.
Are
And
you
I
just
had no
waiting
idea-
for me to tap out? Because
No, shut up.
oh, you really want
Shut
to talk
up.
about? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, it's a You know what? Fine, we're moving on. Jason, what have you been playing since
All
Control
right.
wasn't working for you?
For me, I got a couple of things I've been playing. I'll tell you, funny enough, one of my favorite things that I've been like quote unquote playing this past week is Luke has gotten into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. And he loves this game. Every single morning over the past weekend, his thing was like waking up and then we would snuggle in bed and he would want his Switch. And like Lauren and I could squeeze out an extra 30 minutes of sleep while he played Mario Kart. It was amazing. But not just that, because what I didn't realize, what you probably knew, is that there's an auto steering function that's automatically turned on by default.
Julia
And
uses it too.
it's a very light guidance to get you, to keep you kind of on the track. It doesn't just like you could technically just hold down the gas pedal and go, and it would keep you on the track. But he really is learning how to play this game. He's learning how to use the items. It's so neat to watch him just love this game. And at first he only wanted to play as Mario because it's first of all, it's Mario Kart, and why wouldn't you play as Mario? But then he learned that he actually liked a bunch of the other characters too. So he's been playing as Dry Bones, which he really likes. And his favorite guy to play with right now, I thought it would make you happy, Bowser. He's a fan of the heavy boys.
I hate Bowser in Mario Kart. I'm not a heavy guy in kart games.
Well,
but that's still nice because Bowser, he is so big. He's like,
yeah,
and there's like,
that's what I think Luke likes about him. He likes to put him on the little, like the little motorcycle.
I've always been a Mario guy in Mario Kart.
I've always been like a Yoshi because he's a little faster.
Yeah, he's not though. He's
Are
accelerating.
they all the same speed?
No, the big boys are the fastest. They accelerate the slowest, and then it goes basically from like to the opposite end where Toad and
Really?
Koopa Troopa and stuff are the fastest to accelerate and have the lower top speeds.
Wow, that means that's so funny because that means Luke was right. Because Luke was telling me Bowser was faster than Mario and Dry Bones, and I was like, no, he's not.
And
but I
their
didn't say
weight
that.
matters too in like when you try to run people over too.
Well, anyway, that was like one of my favorite things that I have been playing this week is to watch him experience this game for the first time. It's been incredible. Like he loves it. Had my weekly Dicks per session of Hitman 2 with Tyler, which was fun. I won't really talk about that because I talk about it every week. And then lastly, Baldur's Gate 3, I put in another couple hours in it. And oh my gosh, before we started recording, you said it wasn't a cozy game, but I think it's just not hitting you like it is me, because for me, it is like playing and I said this when we had Sean on, but it's like playing an enchanted bedtime story. And I just can't get enough of just, it's almost like in my mind, it's almost a little bit of a puzzle game because you're trying to figure out how to position your people and what the best, way to attack is. And
You're adorable.
oh God, I love it, dude. It's, I'm loving it.
Okay, but
I'm
like,
loving it.
is it cozy though? Is it a game you can relax with? Because if it is, that's fine. That's not exactly what
to
you're
me
describing.
it is because it's so because first of all, it's not something. So for me, and I think it's probably different for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's more relaxing to me when time is taken out of the equation. There isn't pressure to make the decision fast right now. And so that to me is a cozy component of the game, is to be able to sit back, read through the options, really think about it, and then execute my strategy versus almost any other game where you have to be controlling the character one-to-one movement, and whatever you do on your controller is going to immediately occur on the screen. Whereas this, like I said, you sit back, like especially with the dialogue parts, I love like the role-playing aspect of it. Like it's fun.
Yeah, it's still a stellar game. I only got to play like another, I'll be generous, I'll say 2 hours since the last time we talked about it. I was a little frustrated with the space. I did a completely combat-free session. So, and that's not the frustrating part. I don't mind not having done any combat. I would have liked to do some combat because I got another party member and I wanted to test him out. But I felt like everything I was doing was basically like, oop, you're about to fight somebody. I'm like, but I don't want to fight somebody here. That would be a bad thing. Not just because I'm trying to play a mostly good character, but because like everyone's going to jump on me and try to kill me if I fight somebody here. Like, at least that's what I'm assuming could happen. Maybe the game knows that what it's doing and it won't, like the skirmish will just be a skirmish, but like, I'm not so certain that I could take these people. And if I can, I'm not so certain everyone around me, or everyone around them is going to let me take them. And so it's just like, it's very aggressive. The NPCs are very aggressive. And it's both refreshing and kind of irritating at the same time as I try to just like, I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. It's not the right way to put it. I'm trying to, like, this character, I am just trying to play like a folk hero. I picked that background. I'm trying to defend the little man, and that's it. And it's making it really hard to do that, to the point where I'm like, I'm about to re-roll a character who just kills everybody they come across, no questions asked.
Well, see, that's the funny thing. So my approach, my character is, I picked a rogue with a criminal background, and he's self-serving. And he literally is only in it for himself. So he tells everybody what they want to hear. And I'm waiting to see if this comes back on me in a bad way. But so far, so good. So I am like getting so much joy out of de-escalating the situations that you're talking about simply by feeding people exactly what they want to hear.
Right.
And so maybe that's just the different approach that's making it a little more stressful for you than it is for me. But I know the part of the game you're talking about, and I'm not as far into that section as you are, but I've had like that first little encounter where it does seem like there's no way you're going to get out of this without fighting. And then I did. I talked my way out of it.
I did too. I got out of all of them. In fact, I rolled a 19. I needed a 19 to avoid some combat and some aggression and some bad juju, bad blood.
And how is that not a little... I mean, you sent me that screenshot.
I did. No, it was
satisfying?
awesome. I love that part. And I used... halflings have a racial attribute where they get... It's called lucky roll or whatever. And once per day, if you roll something bad, you can re-roll it if you want. And I didn't get the 19 on this. I had already used it, actually, so it was even more high stakes. I didn't have my lucky roll available. I was like, oh, this is... obviously you got to click. And it worked. And I was like, oh, cool. But I'm definitely going to make that murder hobo. Sooner rather than later.
Well, the thing is it sounds like this first little section's not too long, and then when they iterate on the early access, we'll lose our saves. So I would just save it for the next time we have to restart.
Yeah, I was probably going to do that.
Anyway, so those are my games. What about you, man? What have you been playing?
I've really been playing one thing, and that's Kingdom Hearts. Melody of Memory.
And this is the part where I take my headset off and slowly back away without making any noise so he doesn't notice that I'm not listening.
So I wasn't going to buy this game because it was $60 and it's a rhythm game. And even though the demo was really fun, I was like, I'll wait for it to go on sale. But then I went down that video rabbit hole. King K, guys, check him out. He does Zelda, he does Mario, he does Kingdom Hearts, he does a bunch of other stuff. Dude's only like 22. Talks like he's 40, not just the content of his speech, like not just like the content of his writing, but like his voice is really low. He's a really low voice for someone just in general.
I wish we had low voices. Our voices are high pitched.
Up here, I like video games. But yeah, it's like, it's funny that I'm like, man, why is this guy so insightful who's maybe hasn't even finished college yet and he's already getting his YouTube and Patreon off the ground and stuff? Like, oh man, but I love it. He's great. Check his videos out. Especially the Zelda, he does every Zelda game in the series except the first and second one on the NES. I think they were just two. He talks about them all the time, but he doesn't do specific retrospectives on those games. Anyway, sidetrack. That's how I got on my Kingdom Hearts wagon. That's how I ended up playing this game. I just might go through the series after I'm done with this. But anyway, basically, this is a rhythm game that walks you through pretty much every world that you've been to in every single Kingdom Hearts game. But instead of actually like walking through the world, you're just going through each song from that world. So every Disney world or every what do you call it? Every original world in Kingdom Hearts, if it didn't have anything to do with Disney, has a battle theme and like a non-battle theme. And you're pretty much just playing those two songs throughout all these worlds. Sometimes there's like a third boss theme that's like a variation of one of those. And it's just, Kingdom Hearts has amazing music. Just so good. This is a dopey series with pretty decent gameplay, with a really crazy, dumb, dopey story. And part of the reason I love it so much is because I played it when I was young. I was a child, basically, like when I was 12 and 13. I loved Disney. I loved Final Fantasy. I loved the melding of the two. Not literally just the Final Fantasy, but the idea of the Final Fantasy, because it's really just like that JRPG aspect mixed with it. But as I'm playing this, I'm like, you forget how important music is sometimes. Especially if you're just not musically inclined. And I don't just mean like, oh, I don't know how to sing or play instruments, but I mean like understanding what music means to a piece of medium when it's added to it. So like movies and games and television and stuff. Like it's so easy to make it background noise, or maybe even you do really like it and you listen to it outside of the game, but you still don't really understand it. Like the music brings home so many of the feelings I have for this game. And as I'm going through some of the more memorable tracks, I'm like, oh man, I'm 15 again in my bedroom. And I'm just like, it's crazy how like it just brings you back. But the game's fun. I think like, there's really nothing else to it. It's just a lot of Kingdom Hearts music.
What are the mechanics? What are the actual mechanics, like the rhythm mechanics for the game?
So basically, you've got these little, instead of like musical notes or colors appearing on the screen like you might get with like a Guitar Hero to press the buttons on the pretend guitar, you'll have like Heartless and Kingdom Hearts enemies kind of rushing at you in time with the music. And for the most part, you do just hit the one button. Unless there's two enemies at the same time, then you hit two different buttons. And then there's three, which is the max you can have at any one beat. And then you hit three buttons. And then there's some variations that like sometimes you have to jump over a hurdle and then hit an enemy in the air. So you hit the jump button and then you hit. And all of this, of course, that sounds stupid. Like when I break it down piecemeal, of course, it's a rhythm game to the music. And so you're doing all of these in like combos and these fluid ways. And obviously knowing the song helps a lot more. But that's it. That is the main crux of it, and it gets harder and harder when you go up in the difficulty levels. And there's crafting where you can craft new songs that you wouldn't normally have access to. You craft items, because basically there is a very minor like additional like I hesitate to call it an RPG element, but basically you have stats, you have hit points, you have strength. I have no idea what the strength is for. Because as long as you hit the button at the right time, the enemy gets defeated. So I really don't know what the strength and defense are for. But you have a health bar. And if you miss, like you screw it up completely and don't hit the button at the right time at all, you'll take damage. And then on the harder ones, you can technically die and you'll fail the mission, essentially. You still go to B. B is like the lowest rank. It's B, A+, A++, A++, A++++. Because the Japanese love their goofy ranking systems.
There's not an S? That surprises me.
I looked it up. I had to be sure. I'm like, A+++. It's like they're teasing me. Like there isn't. Right. There isn't. There's no S. So that's the best score. Now you can get like every time you hit a note or a beat or whatever, you get a score. So it's if you miss, you miss. And then you take damage. And then the next one is good. Then it's excellent. Then it's rainbow excellent. So they couldn't throw a great in there. They had to make two excellents, which is weird. Anyway, you can get an all excellent run and you get an all rainbow excellent run, which is like, that's the best you could possibly do in that level because there's just nothing better. There's nothing better to achieve at that point. There is like
Nirvana.
What?
You've achieved Nirvana at that point.
Exactly. But not the band Nirvana. The inner peace Nirvana.
Right.
There is some story to this. Like so basically every 5 or 6 levels, Kairi, who's a main character from the series, kind of like the love interest to Sora, who is the main character of the series, will basically kind of, I think it's Kyrie, I guess it could be somebody else. Anyway, she recaps like a huge chunk of one of the games. And it is just kind of this fun little walk down memory lane. And, it plays into the melody of memories and how much music can like really play into your memories, much like smell can. And there is going to be like news story content that plays into the overall Kingdom Hearts story. But that's like they bury the lead, and it's at the very, very end. And I'm sure it's only like 10 minutes, and I'm sure it's a waste of time. But that's not what I'm playing this game for. I'm playing it to just have like, it's basically like the bitest of sizes when it comes to Kingdom Hearts. You need a little fix, hop in and go play your favorite boss music. Because they have these kind of boss-like levels too, where the characters are running around on the screen fighting the boss. You're still doing the rhythm thing. So at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same as any other level, but it's slightly different.
So some of these, like that Hyrule rhythm game that's going to come out. What is that one called?
What?
Isn't there a Zelda rhythm game that's coming out soonish?
Are you talking about Hyrule Warriors?
No, I'm talking about a Zelda rhythm game, dude.
Are you talking about Cadence of Hyrule?
Yes.
Dude, that came out forever ago.
Okay.
And that was not a rhythm game.
Forgive me that I don't know every, rhythm game.
That was a rhythm-esque. That's a game that has rhythm components, but it's actually like a regular game in which you attack stuff and things.
Okay, that's not. But my question is, that was a hybrid between Nintendo IP and kind of this existing formula for a game. Mm-hmm. Is that the case with this Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, or is this kind of an all?
No, it's pretty much. There's these games out there called Theater Rhythm, and there was specifically in the context of Square, they made Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm, where they basically just did this same exact kind of concept, but with Final Fantasy music. And so the idea has been done before. This isn't necessarily an entirely new concept.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was just curious. Well, that sounds fantastic. But I mean, I'm not personally sold, but I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
You don't have to be, because now it's on my library. You can get all your Kingdom Hearts goodness in one little package.
No, I don't need to.
Don't you tell me no, boy. Don't you tell me. One downside is Juliet likes to watch me play this, but she gets super excited. Like, just so excited. Like, look, it's... Because she knows some of the characters. Like, look, it's Roxas. Look, it's Kyrie. Where'd Sora go? I can't wait till they get married. And she just starts chattering. And I'm like, baby, you gotta stop. Because, like normally you can tune it out, but this is a rhythm game. And so anything is kind of a distraction. And my headphones aren't on. I'm playing, just on the Switch or on the TV or whatever. And then she'll start singing the song. Like one of the song, Lion King, is in one of the games. And at one point you can play the opening Circle of Life song. And then she started singing it completely incorrectly in the middle of the song. Like, I turned her like, you've got to stop.
She knows what she's doing. She's messing with you because she wants you to stop playing this game.
No, she's like, oh, play that one.
That's cute.
No Winnie the Pooh, though. It's a shame.
Did they have the hey, yeah, hey?
I haven't. Frozen is in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I haven't gotten to the Kingdom Hearts 3 worlds yet. So I'm hoping they have some original Frozen music and not... Because sometimes some of the worlds don't have original music from Disney. Some of them do. Some of them don't. Like Bippity Boppity Boo from Cinderella is in there. But let's see. I'm trying to think of another one. Like, there's no Beauty and the Beast music. It's all original scores made for those worlds. And the theme, it fits. The theme is right. The composer did a good job making a song that would sound right inside a Beast's castle or something. But it's not Belle's song. It's not Tale as Old as Time, whatever that's called. Beauty and the Beast, I think, is the name of that song. So I don't know if they're going to get the rights to the Frozen music, is what I'm saying. Even though Disney, it's so weird. I don't see how Disney can't just hand it all over. It's like, it's your game.
They're like, here, use Elsa and use the snowman dude, and
Let It Go was in like beat for beat, shot for shot, lyric for lyric, etc. Let It Go is in Kingdom Hearts 3. Like the music, it's a music video inside that game, except occasionally it cuts to Sora, Donald, and Goofy just being utterly baffled and awestruck by Elsa and what she's doing. And at the end, it even kind of gets a little It is bad. It's not very good because it seems really shoehorned. But at the end, Sora's like, I don't know what that was, but I liked it or something to that effect.
Oh my gosh.
The Japanese love Frozen, though. It was always going to be in there.
Okay.
So
you can. I mean, this is just not my thing at all.
I know.
I'm glad you're telling me about it. Thanks for sharing it.
You're welcome.
And it's good that we have some different interests because otherwise this will just be a Skyrim podcast.
We are not. We share the same brain, but that's where it stops.
Absolutely.
It's at war, rhythm of war, like the book I'm reading. Back to my purple book.
Which is purple, yeah. No, tell me about your gaming gripe of the week.
This is less of a gripe and more of just like it's a sadness. And so it kind of goes into this, segues off of the game. So I was playing and I only had to shut it down all the way once to play something else. And when I booted it back up, one of the opening song on the title screen of Kingdom Hearts has always been the same. They've remixed it occasionally like they did for this game. It's called Dearly Beloved. And it's one of my favorite pieces from the entire series. It's just really slow, piano heavy, somber, fits it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so I was thinking, I was like, man, Quick Resume is amazing. I love Quick Resume. But I miss title screens. I don't get to see them anymore. And I it's just kind of sad. And specifically because of the music. Like, title screens often have unique music. Not always, but often they do. And in the past, title screens would sometimes change after you got to a certain part of a game, or if you beat it, or you did something really cool and got like all the secrets in Mario Kart 64, you would get this weird little fall theme. Like, that was literally your only reward for that accomplishment, but it was fun all the same. And so I miss title screens. And maybe, just maybe, with the advent of SSDs in consoles, I'll just stop using it. And I'll boot in immediately, and I'll get to see my title screen some more.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you to an extent because I remember when we would play Grand Theft Auto Vice City and they had girls in bikinis on the title screens. It made me feel funny on my insides.
See whatever you want, right?
Huh?
Just put a bikini on and go look in a mirror.
That would be too much excitement.
Nope. Backing out of this. Beep, beep, beep. Funnily enough, because during my Hades, like the height of my Hades playing, the girls were playing a lot of Pokemon. So I was leaving and coming in out of those two games a lot. I did get to see the Hades title screen quite a bit. And it's not anything to like write home about, but you do hear that that Hades song. And it's just it's a good title screen. It's a real good title screen. But then I'd have to load in, and I was really mad because it took so long.
The load times in that game were pretty brutal.
There's not a lot of them, thankfully, but yeah, they're bad. They're bad. Yeah. But yeah, that's my gripe. I miss title screens.
I won't miss it. A lot of people talk about missing like booting in and then like, hopping on Twitter or whatever for a couple seconds.
No, that's just a joke. That's easy low-hanging fruit people are making comments.
Well, I will say this because I can empathize to an extent because with the advent of, streaming media in general, Netflix, there are no commercials. I would always use a commercial as like a quick bathroom break or to go get a refill or to go get, grab a cookie off the counter or something like that.
What's the difference between
pausing?
Pausing?
Consciously pause to do any of those things. Or even just like have a quick 2-second conversation with Lauren about, that scene, blah, blah, blah. I thought this was funny. Oh, this is what I think is going to happen next. This is who I think is the bad guy or whatever. And now you have to like pause it to have those conversations.
Be careful with those kinds of thoughts because companies will use it to spin like, we know what you want. You want those moments back, so we're going to give them to you. We're introducing commercials. Commercials for you.
And Apple's like, and we think you're going to love it.
Oh, no.
Apple
Architect.
Commercials in between text messages.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to act like they invented advertising.
That was the funniest joke I saw. Based like, sorry that I'm not texting you anymore, but loading times on consoles are just that fast, apparently. Like, or something like that. It was better. It was better worded, but like that was the only one I liked because you respond to texts and you tweet and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to miss that. I'm not going to miss loading times. It's stupid.
Yeah, but just pause it. Just pause it when you need to go pee. Just pause it.
Okay,
it's fine. We got over it for Netflix, and we're get over it for this.
Didn't have to get over it. There was nothing to get over. These are these are after the fact things that people invent as actual reasons they might want that. That's not something. No one literally sat down and said, "I miss this." Hipsters, man. That's who.
Hipsters. Get out of here. Gaming gripe of the week is hipsters. All right.
Done. All right. That's what we've been playing.
It's also your gaming gripe of the week.
My gaming gripe of the week. All right. Now it's time for the topic of the week in a little segment I like to call Stop, Please, I Beg You, in which I will do something really, really annoying that Jason hates. And he will see how long he can last before he just has to say, stop, please, I beg you. And then we'll turn it around and he'll do the same to me. And what I've brought to the table this week is the Kingdom Hearts story recap. And I'm just going to do this off the cuff. I didn't write anything down. I'm going to try to do it as true to the story as I can.
Do I get to ask questions?
I mean, you can if you start to get interested. But it's really kind of, for the most part, I would think it's just you listening and taking it in.
Okay. I just
free.
ask that if you're gonna tell me this story, I want you to go canon. I want you to go sequentially.
Of course, I'm gonna go release order.
Be that release of the games, or within the universe, the timeline. However you want to do
there's
it.
There's no. Yeah, always release order with any piece of media. And here's a little mini gripe for you. Stop doing stuff chronologically. The author didn't write it chronologically. Don't read it. Don't play it. Don't watch it chronologically. Don't watch Star Wars episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's stupid. Don't play Kingdom Hearts.
I disagree.
Order.
Watching MCU chronologically was awesome.
No.
It was because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has episodes that are in between movies and actually makes a pretty good connection, and it's actually pretty cool. And if you watched it out of order, you would have no idea where it was in the timeline.
That's a little different because they were airing simultaneously. And so you do kind of have to stop to go watch that other thing if you want to have the best experience without watching all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
That's different. That's not watching... I'm trying to think of a good example.
Star Wars, That's a really good example.
Yeah, Star Wars is a really good example because Lucas is a hack. All right.
That's a whole other podcast.
When you walk away, you don't hear me say, please. I beg you.
Is this part of the...
that was so good. Oh, I'm going to remember that for next time. That's the opening song. It's part of the opening song to Kingdom Hearts.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay, great. Take me through the journey and hopefully I can hear it all.
Wake up, sleepyhead. The voice of Kairi comes to a sleepy Sora as he opens his eyes on Destiny Islands, his home, a beachy, covey paradise. But he's not happy. His friends aren't happy. Him, his best friend Riku, and his best gal Kairi, they want to get on a little raft and want to see the world. They want to see other worlds. Apparently, they already know there are other worlds. And so they make a raft and they're going to set sail that next morning. But something happens and darkness just envelops the island. Sora doesn't know what's going on. He's running around. He picks up a dinky wooden sword and he's fighting off Heartless, but it doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, ping, the Keyblade appears. And I'm skipping a lot of stuff here, but for the sake of brevity, the Keyblade. And he's like, Keyblade? And then turns out the Keyblade is really good at killing Heartless. And so he kills a bunch of Heartless, and there's a giant Heartless, and it's wrapped in shadow tendrils, and you fight it. It's called Darkseid. It's really cool. It's got a giant hole in its chest shaped like a heart because it's heartless. It's evil. Grr. He sees Riku. Riku is his broody, taller, more handsome, more capable best friend. He's like, Riku! And Riku's like holding out his hand all stylistic and like, come into the darkness with me. And the darkness crashes over all of them. And Sora's just kind of like, I don't know what's going on. And then again, he wakes up and Pluto's licking his face. And you're like, Pluto? I know him from Disney. And he's like, what? Where am I? And he's barking and he runs off into some corner and you never see him again. That's kind of weird. And then he's walking around. Eventually he bumps into Donald and Goofy. And he's like, I don't know where my friends are. And like, we're looking for the king and the Keyblade wielder. And then he fights Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. And everyone's like really impressed that he has the Keyblade because apparently the Keyblade is like this legendary thing that can destroy worlds or, save them. and they're not sure what this 12-year-old kid's going to do with it yet. Anyway, he makes friends with all of them because that's what he does. He's Sora. And he asks about his friends, and they don't know where Kairi or Riku are. And he's like, well, I got to go find Kairi and Riku. And Donald and Goofy are like, well, we've got this cool gummy ship, which is basically this ship made of Lego pieces, and we got to find the king. The king is King Mickey. I don't know if this is clear yet at this point. I'm pretty sure it is, but it's not clear to the characters. Anyway, they get in this ship, and they start flying through space, and they're shooting down heartless ships, and they get to Alice in Wonderland, and you go through that story. And the queen wants to cut off your head, and you just pretty much go through that rigmarole, and you go to save Alice at the end, but she's gone. Like, what? Where's Alice go? Sora doesn't care too much, though, because he just bounces and goes on to the next world, which is Tarzan. And then that's the last time you ever see Tarzan in the entire Kingdom Hearts series. And then after Tarzan, let's see, where do we go? We go to Hercules. We go to Mount Olympus, except it's not actually Mount Olympus. It's just some coliseum. And it feels like, yes, just junior heroes. And he won't let you fight in the tournament, so he puts you in the junior league and you fight some Heartless. And then you fight Cerberus, and Hades is cool, and they get James Woods back, and he's doing his James Woodsy thing. And then you leave there, and then you go off to Atlantica, which is the mermaid place from Little Mermaid. You get turned into a mermaid, and that's pretty cool. Donald gets turned into an octopus, and Goofy gets turned into a turtle. Meanwhile, all the villains from all the Disney worlds, so that's Maleficent, she's the leader, Jafar, Ursula, and Captain Hook, and Oogie Boogie. There, that's the 5. It's kind of like the what's that thing called in Super Friends? The Legion of Doom. They're like the Legion of Doom, but for the Disney worlds. And they've got big plans because they know there's these other worlds. Most people don't know there's these other worlds, the Disney worlds, that is. But they know, and they can control the Heartless, and they've got big plans. They don't tell you what they are yet, but they got big plans. And then Riku shows up, and he's like, I need to find Kairi, but I need to find her my own way. And so Maleficent's like, come here, dear boy. And she's like, I will be your evil mother. And she kind of takes him under her wing. And then eventually Sora meets back up at that first place he was at with Riku. And Riku's like, you got new friends now. And Sora's like, yeah, it's great. Now we can all go space trips together. And he like looks up to the sky to kind of like think about how far they've come. And it's amazing that their dreams are coming true. And then Riku leaves because he's a little, he sucks. Nobody likes Riku. And so you go back on your journey, you go to Halloween Town, where Jack Skellington, and he's like, I don't understand what hearts are. This is amazing. Kind of like how he does with Christmas, but instead of doing it with Christmas this time, they do it with hearts. And he doesn't understand hearts. And it's hilarious. He tries to make the Heartless like dance. Like that's his entire goal in the entire Halloween land is like he wants to make the Heartless dance for his party. He doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. And then you kill Oogie Boogie. And that was fun. And then let's see, what's the next one? Monstro from Pinocchio comes out and he swallows you whole in your spaceship. He's just swimming around in space. Apparently it's cool. He doesn't need a world because the big deal is that all these worlds are getting swallowed up by the Heartless. And essentially every world has its own heart. And so the worlds are disappearing and so is everybody else in them. Except Monstro. He must be like a world unto himself because no one can deny him his tasty meal. And so he swallows you. And Pinocchio and Geppetto in there and you meet them up. And then Riku's there too. You don't know why, but he's trying to steal Pinocchio. He's just kidnapping this guy. He's like, this puppet has a heart. He could be good research for Kairi, who also has lost her heart. And then Sora's like, what do you mean Kairi's lost her heart? It's like, if you were a better friend, you would know. And then Riku bails. And you kill some monsters inside of Monstro. I'm pretty sure you save Pinocchio and reunite him with Geppetto. Throughout this, you're also rescuing the 101 Dalmatians throughout the worlds that got scattered somehow. You're also finding pages from Winnie the Pooh and put...
Okay, please, I beg you stop. Why? I
got too... I always get too granular. I wish I could outline it better so I could have gotten to Kingdom Hearts 2
I don't think anybody
faster.
can is the thing.
No, they can't. I could have done higher level, but I started going through the worlds. And once I started going through the worlds, I knew I couldn't stop. So
I'm glad you know that about yourself. Luckily, per the rules of the game, I could stop you. And I did.
And if you liked this, get ready because I'm about to go through these games and I'm not going to do like Let's Plays and entire playthroughs. I will never do that. I will never finish it that way, but I will play through these games. I will capture some footage if I can, and I will do my own version of a retrospective. might be one per game, might be two per game. You know, like okay, here's the halfway point. Here's the rest of the game and my thoughts on it. But if you're a Kingdom Hearts freak like me,
that sounds scary, dude.
it is. Darkness is nothing to mess around with.
Good Lord. Okay,
May your heart be your guiding key, Jason.
Okay, well, it's my turn to punish you.
Okay, give us a preamble. Tell me what you're about to do.
I am going to read for you the marketing material from NVIDIA on DLSS 2.0. It's called A Big Leap in AI Rendering. And this article was released on March 23rd, 2020. So here.
It's old. Pre-COVID. Well, not pre-COVID, but...
No, it's like right around the same time as COVID.
Oh my gosh, I gotta edit that out. Sorry.
Edit that out. Just kidding. I don't care. Karch. Artificial intelligence is a revolutionizing gaming from in-game physics and animation simulation to real-time rendering and AI-assisted broadcasting features. With deep learning super sampling, DLSS, NVIDIA set out to redefine real-time rendering through AI-based super resolution, rendering fewer pixels and then using AI to construct sharp, higher resolution images. With our latest 2.0 version of DLSS, we've made big advances towards this vision. Powered by dedicated AI processors on GeForce RTX GPUs called Tensor Cores, DLSS 2.0 is a new and improved deep learning neural network that boosts frames while generating beautiful, crisp game images. It gives gamers the performance headroom to maximize ray tracing settings and increase...
Stop, please, I beg you. I couldn't, when they started gives gamers, I couldn't do it. Like, I literally retained none of that because it just sounded like nonsense to me, but I was willing to just nod along.
It sounded like gargled. I mean, you were actually like, your description of the games was interesting, and I am curious, did we get out of the first game at all, or are we still in the first game for Kingdom Hearts?
We were a little past the halfway part.
Okay, that's actually better than I thought. I was interested at some point offline, higher level. I want to know how each game connects, especially the ones that are canon sequels but not on the same platform, like the Game Boy.
Oh, good. We'll do that after because I need to get this out of my system.
I don't want to. No. Okay, we'll talk about it.
I got.
We do have, in addition to that topic, we do have one listener question from Sean, who was alive at least when he sent this email. We don't know if he is now or not. We can't be sure. I haven't heard from him in the last 2 hours. He could have died. Sean says,
Monster Hunter.
He says, "Hey fellas, I'm super sick. Last minute question is super simple. If Kirby inhaled you, what power would he gain? Take care, Sean." Have you thought about this
introspective one? I haven't really. I mean, like, I don't have any superpowers. I don't even have any, like, jokey kind of, like, special skills. Like, I can't even say, like, wow, he would actually be pretty decent at a pickup game of football. like, that's not true.
What if Kirby just, like, could play the French horn? And so
I can't play the French horn. Anybody would be terrible at it.
No, that's the really great thing. He would play the French horn, and the sound comes out the back. That would be the sound waves would be the attack. He'd turn around and blow the French horn, and it would be like sound waves would shoot on them.
Yeah. No, my power that Kirby would inhale, he would become disgusting. He would become a nose picker. He would become a nail biter. He would become a foot picker. He would go days without showering and just not give one flying Kirby's butt about it. No one would want to be around him, not even his wife.
Oh my God. I didn't know Kirby had a wife.
And yet at the same time, no one would really know, Not just because he's isolated right now in quarantine, but because, like, he's really good at skating that line of disgusting and socially acceptable. And I know everyone thinks they are, but deep down, they're usually pretty clean. Like, I won't tell you how many days it's been since I brushed my teeth. I won't. I'm gonna make you. You can't make me.
That's beautiful.
So that would be that would be the power that he inhales.
Dude, I thought about this too. And similarly, in the same vein, if Kirby inhaled me, he would actually just get his suction powers enhanced for specifically Oreos and rum.
Nice.
That would be like he would suck everything up the same as he already does. But if there were Oreos or rum involved, the velocity of the suction would increase.
I could also go with a different answer that's not as gross and revealing, and that he would be able to drink coffee at night and still get a good night's rest.
Ooh, that is a superpower, dude.
Although I feel like I'm waning on that one. I don't.
That just means you got to up your dose.
It is the opposite of that. That is not what that means. Up your dose is almost never a good thing, kids. Do not up your dose. We are never forbidden. If you like us and you want to up your dose.
That was literally what I was going to say for next week.
I'm going to put it in there so I don't forget.
Okay, everybody. That's enough nonsense for this week.
I'm cutting us off.
I'm cutting us off. I'm hoping Karch puts some of our Hillary Swank discussion at some point in the episode. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Find out by watching after the credits if we haven't already talked about it. You all have a fantastic week. We will try, but we are never free to play.
I got a nice cowlick. Not cowlick. Yeah, cowlick. Where's my hair? There's my hair. Woo. Couldn't find it.
Where's my hair?
No, I got confused with
dude,
like
where's
the
my
mirror.
hair? The Ruben Pressman thing where you put.
Please don't speak his name in my presence of.
Yeah, I often wonder what happened to these people. We should make a podcast where we look up people from elementary school.
That sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen.